Hello, how you doing? And welcome back to the channel. So the Chiefs 28, the Highlanders 7. That's how it finished in Super Rugby. Just been watching the game this morning here in the UK. So doing another little video looking back on the game. Another video about Super Rugby as well. I did one last weekend and I want to try and cover as many different competitions, as many different teams and things as possible. So do drop a comment down below if you want to see more Super Rugby content. And also, most importantly, if you watch this game, if you catched any of it, then drop a comment down below as well. Let me know of where you think the Chiefs and the Highlanders are at the moment, because they're two teams in contrasting positions at the start of the Super Rugby season. Do subscribe to the channel and like the video as well if you haven't already. And all right, let's get into it. So 28-7 is a scoreline which probably pretty fairly reflects the game, in all honesty. The Chiefs, I felt, looked comfortable and looked like the better side throughout the game, really, even though it was still relatively close heading into that second half. But they just looked like the better side. They look like a side that have now gone 3 from 3 at the start of the competition. And the Highlanders, who I'll get onto, having watched them last week as well, first of all, I don't think the fixtures have been kind to them at the start of the season in terms of they played the Blues, the Crusaders, and now the Chiefs, who are all three teams, particularly the Crusaders and the Blues. I've seen many people think that they could be favourites, and the Chiefs, in the way that they've started, again, will be a side that have the potential to go on and win the competition. So in terms of the fixture list for the Highlanders, it's been a pretty tough start. I expect them to start picking up a few more wins when they play some of the other sides in the competition, but it is, as I say, another difficult start for them. In terms of the Chiefs, I think you can see, I thought, why people like them, why they're heavily favoured, and why they've received a lot of plaudits at the start of Super Rugby Pacific. They looked pretty impressive, even in that first half when they weren't necessarily scoring too many points. I still thought they looked really impressive, particularly with ball in hand and especially in attack. And they weren't necessarily as efficient as they would want to be in the red zone or with the opportunities that they got, but just the way in which they were attacking, I think. First of all, the speed and their ruck speed was pretty lightning quick a lot of the time. The way in which they were able to change the emphasis of the attack and switch it really, really quickly from the blind side to the open side and have different moving parts. Damien McKenzie, obviously, so important in doing that as well. And then also the physicality as well. Nanai Satoro, first time I've properly watched him play, I thought he was absolutely awesome. Really exciting player. Obviously scored a try and had his physicality, had his pace, the dynamism that he has with ball in hand. But that was also probably a reflection of the speed of the ruck ball that the Chiefs were getting and the front foot ball they were getting. So their attack as a whole, I thought, was really, really impressive, even though in that first half they didn't score as many points. And then in the second half, particularly when Shannon Frizzell got the yellow card, they were able to capitalise and pull away. And at that point, it looked like a bit of an uphill battle, really, for the Highlanders to get back into the game. So from a Chiefs perspective, in particular, their attack, very, very good. They might want to be a little bit more efficient with it moving forward, but even so, they've looked really impressive at the start of the season. And also just a word on Sean Stevenson as well at fullback. Another couple of tries for him, a top try scorer as things stand in Super Rugby Pacific so far. I know that he's getting a lot of plaudits for how he's performing and how he has started this season. But he looked really, really good. I know he made his All Blacks debut. It was in the autumn, wasn't it, I think? All Blacks fans will be able to remind me. I think I'm right in saying that. Or made his All Blacks debut in November last year. Maybe a guy heading into the World Cup to keep an eye on, possibly. He's kind of like mid-20s. I actually looked him up, so I was thinking maybe he's like a 20-year-old or something that's just burst onto the scene. But he has been around for a little while. I know the domestic audience in New Zealand will know a fair bit about him, maybe less so fans watching from overseas, of which obviously I am one. But at fullback, I thought he looked good. Do drop a comment down below. Is he going to be in there amongst it in terms of the fullback position for the All Blacks? Maybe more of a bench spot or a squad player? I don't know. Let me know. But as I say, I thought he looked good, and I know he's receiving a lot of adulation for how he's performed so far this season in Super Rugby. A couple of tries here. Let's move on to the Highlanders. Because as I say, I think they will be okay. I don't necessarily know. I think we've probably seen from the first opening weeks of competition that, first of all, they're a little bit off where they would want to be. And just looking at watching some of the pitch side interviews afterwards just now, that's exactly what they're kind of saying. They need to be a little bit more accurate, need to tighten up certain areas of their game. But I do think they will start to pick up wins. I think the reflection is they're probably just not quite at the level of the top sides in the competition at this moment in time. I think also if you probably look at their squad as well, I don't think it's as strong a squad as a lot of the sides, particularly the Crusaders and the Chiefs. Chiefs that they've come up against in the last few weeks, they don't have as strong a squad either. So the defeats have probably been somewhat a reflection of that. I think once they play the Australian sides, Moana Pacifica, Fiji and Drua, they have more of a chance there to start getting some W's on the board. A few things though from having watched them last week as well. I thought their kick chase on a few occasions was noticeably quite poor. Freddie Burns was playing fullback. Obviously, I know him very well, having come across from Leicester Tigers and played in Bath and the Premiership a whole lot. And he actually, I thought, his kicking game was quite good, but I just didn't know if the Highlanders really had the chase there. There was a couple of times where Freddie Burns was chasing it and he didn't have the rest of the side up chasing with him. And I didn't know why that was. Was that just a Highlanders issue? Was it a stylistic issue, perhaps in Super Rugby, that Freddie Burns is maybe still stuck in the kind of Premiership way of playing the game a little bit more? I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. But I did think the kick chase let them down a few times. Freddie Burns got absolutely skinned by Damien McKenzie. I'm not sure what he could have done there. One-on-one, plenty of space. McKenzie just went round him in the first half. They look like they could potentially have a good scrum there. I know penalties went either way, but they got a penalty at one point in the first half, and their scrum has performed well in the opening 3 rounds of the competition as well this season. So there are positives there for the Highlanders, and overall it's going to be a positive that they were able to stay in the game as long as they were, because as I say, in the first half, I mean, I think it was at halftime, it was something like the Chiefs had beaten 20 defenders and the Highlanders had beaten 1, and in terms of possession, in terms of territory, it was all pretty heavily weighted in favour of the Chiefs. So the Highlanders were on the back foot. They could never quite get themselves into the game. There was that brief moment in the second half, I think it was 21-7, and the Highlanders had ball in the red zone, trying to get themselves over the try line. Had they been able to get a try there, that might have made the scoreline a little bit more interesting. But as I said at the top of the video, I thought overall the Chiefs just look like the better side. They look impressive at the moment, and the Highlanders have a few different things to work on so far. That's kind of my general thoughts on the game. As I said in the introduction, do let me know if you want to see more Super Rugby content. I appreciate at this moment in time, particularly for the Northern Hemisphere audience, the Six Nations is what's getting a lot of views and things, but I'm keen to try and do as many different things as possible. So do let me know if you want to see more Super Rugby content on the channel. Also, drop a comment down below just generally of what you make of these two sides. Educate me. Let me know what you think, particularly if you're people who watch them a lot more regularly than I do. Also, subscribe to the channel and like the video, as I've said already. That's always massively appreciated. And I think I'll leave it there for now, but I'll see you in the next one.